Now, as we do every week, it's time to speak to the author of international bestsellers, groundbreaking works including The War on the West, The Strange Death of Europe and The Madness of Crowds. Douglas Murray, let's start in your homeland. We've seen mass marches of more than 100,000 in support of the Palestinian cause in London. But there is a disturbing development. Pro-Palestinian, or should that be anti-Israeli demonstrators, intend to hold a 1 million man march on November 11. Douglas, that's Remembrance Day.
Yes, that's right, Rita. It's Remembrance Day in the United Kingdom, where we remember the dead of the two world wars and commemorate their sacrifice, including, of course, the sacrifice of soldiers from the Commonwealth and around the world in defeating Nazism and Nazi fascism. And in my view, this is a deliberate provocation of the British people, and it should not be allowed to go ahead. Or, and let me put it this way, either it goes ahead, either it doesn't go ahead, or it goes ahead and it will have to be countered, because I don't think the British public should have to put up with this. We should not have to put up with our national monuments being defiled. We should not have to put up with the cenotaph being defiled. We should not have to put up with people marching through our streets calling for the new Nazism, the latest iteration of Nazism, flying their new Nazi flags, rejoicing in the latest murder of Jews. We shouldn't put up with it. And my suspicion, and I think this is already welling up, is that the British public are going to start thinking about showing up and seeing off the people who would defile our monuments. I think it's going to be a great mistake, a great overreach by the Islamists, by the Hamasniks, and their fellow traveller fools. An enormous mistake, an enormous overreach of historic proportions.
Well, one MP, Henry Smith, has urged the government to deploy the military to ensure there is no disruption to Remembrance Day. We will keep a close eye on that story. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the program, that we are seeing an enormous surge in anti-Semitism, but at the same time, we have politicians, activists and large segments of the media banging on endlessly about Islamophobia. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, we've got Kamala Harris. What do you make of this focus on Islamophobia, Douglas, as Jews in the West feel compelled to hide signs of their Jewishness at a time where they're facing enormous increase in anti-Semitism?
Yes, well, Sadiq Khan, of course, says it for sectional reasons, for identity reasons. It's very revealing during this whole period that despite the enormous plurality, the multiculturalism, the pluralism of political leaders in the UK, it's the Muslim political leaders in the UK who have been most filled with hate against Israel and most willing to talk about making peace and much more. I'm thinking of people like First Minister of Scotland, Humza Yousaf, who's married to a Palestinian activist, and of course the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. They can never drop this. They never give a damn about their so-called fellow Muslims being massacred by the hundreds of thousands in Syria, Yemen, or anywhere else. They just get really het up for religious reasons whenever any Muslim is involved in a war with the Jews. And that's for very ancient reasons. Ancient reasons I'm very sorry we've now imported into politics in the country. But yes, they always come back to Islamophobia first. I don't like this word. I think that it's a stupid word. It's always been used to try to intimidate people. It will intimidate people no longer. But yes, it is used as a word to try to intimidate people, to sort of imply that there's some unbelievable bigotry that lies behind dislike of certain things that followers of Islam do. I don't think it is an irrational bigotry. I don't think it is at all. To the extent that such a thing as Islamophobia exists, it is created by the behavior of Muslims. It is created by the behavior of Hamas. Just yesterday, I watched the unvarnished footage of October the 7th, the Hamas massacres. And everybody, all the time, as they're massacring the Jews, just under a month ago, is shouting Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They are so high on their religious bigotry that they are saying this as they're decapitating young men and much more. Now, I don't want to hear about Islamophobia. To the extent it exists, it's created by people like Hamas because we don't like them and we don't want them. We don't want to be near them. And we expect most Muslims, if they wish to live in our societies, to not want or like those people either. But instead of the rightful ongoing condemnations, people like Sadiq Khan will go bang, bang, just a quick condemnation, you shouldn't cut people's heads off, and then it's on to Islamophobia. We see these people now. We see them in planes. We're being gamed.